Hello, my name is Marilyn Regan. We are here at WCAT Studios in Winthrop with Robin Dolan and Bob Shannon. Robin is a Winthrop resident and Bob is a former Winthrop resident currently living in Stoneham. And we're going to discuss MS, its different facets, symptoms, onset, etc. Welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for having me.
That's great to have you here. All right, we'll start with diagnosis. When were you initially diagnosed with MS?
My diagnosis was in 1992 after having an attack that was numbness in my right hand and speech difficulty.
I see. And how long did it take to diagnose, confirm the diagnosis that you had MS?
Actually, a year, because the prior summer I had numbness in my feet and knees, so it took 2 episodes, and after they did the MRI, they diagnosed it in 92.
All righty. And Bob, what's your story?
Well, actually, mine probably started somewhere around the spring of 2001, where my left pointing finger from the knuckle up to the fingernail was not feeling exactly comfortable. Mm-hmm. So then I don't know, just dealt with it, asked other folks that are in the medical field, and they said, you know, it's just probably just coming on with age. By that time, I was probably about 45 years old. And then the numbness and tingling progressed throughout my hand, my left hand, and then into my right hand. Mm-hmm. And that was probably by 2002. And it just ran up my arms through my chest, and finally, March of 2003, wow. it was really getting bad. So then I made an appointment to call my doctor, and he again made all kinds of tests and stuff. Then he set me up for the MRI, and in the MRI process, it showed up that I definitely had MS.
Okay. Do you know how it shows up in the MRI, what it looks like? Is it scarring or?
An MRI, it just, the inflammation is illuminated, so it shows up as a spot.
It shows up as a spot.
Right.
Now, is MS a diagnosis of elimination? They eliminate many other things, or are there specific things they're looking for in the MRI? Do you have any idea?
I think the MRI is pretty specific for MS based on the way the spots appear.
Okay.
Yeah.
In those spots, I mean, they'll show different parts of your body, your hands, your feet, your arms, your legs, your chest area, your head, your brain.
Okay, so it's a body, it's an MRI of your entire body, not just your brain.
Well, you can have them of your brain and your spinal cord.
Okay, well, I didn't know how they, what?
It depends on where the symptom is. Like sometimes if it's located at one place, they'll only do a spinal, and you'll find the spot in your spinal cord.
I see. Okay.
But initially, they start with the brain.
Because it's from the central nervous system.
Yeah. Yes.
This originates.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
And one of the other things, talking about the symptoms of having MS, I was explaining earlier how my hands and my arms, and then finally my chest, and it does affect your feet, and it gets into your balance. Your balance is off. I've fallen down quite a few times, and it wasn't a good happening. As far as like riding a bicycle, you'd be wobbling going down the street, and it's like, wow, what's happening with me? But I am on a therapy drug. Avenex, and I got to take that for the rest of my life.
But the symptoms vary, and even your, the symptoms from day to day, I understand, can vary. You can have you have good days and bad days. Is that
right?
Are you finding that?
Right. And the fatigue is actually the symptom that, to me, if you have a problem with fatigue, can vary, and that's according to how much you've pushed yourself the day before, or how much how much effort you've put into activities, and then normally you'll feel it the next day, or sometimes it takes a couple of days to get over it if you have fatigue.
All right. Okay, so how has MS affected your life? Robin, I'll start with Robin.
Well, it's affected my life because what it actually had prevented me from doing was working full-time. You know, the fatigue
Yes.
issues, which just kind of make it impossible to have a brain that can function, you know, eight hours a day. And so for me, that's the biggest thing. I mean, at one time it did interfere with participating with my children as a mother, but now they've grown. So I'd say right in my life today, that's the biggest thing. It just prevents you from working full-time.
Okay, Bob, how did it affect your life?
Pretty dramatic. I was a former truck driver for 25 years, driven all sorts of different heavy vehicles, and my physician told me that I could no longer drive a truck because of having EMS, and it really set me back quite a ways as far as like being a productive citizen and making the general flow of doing everyday things that seem normal to you, and then all of a sudden it all changes. You have to gauge yourself what you can do every day, even like climbing in and out of the trucks I used to do, and you probably be 3 steps, and you got to be careful. Just doing stuff, working off of ladders, you can't do that. Lifting heavy objects, you can't do that because you have to gauge yourself on that. It turns your life upside down.
I can imagine. What is the general pattern of the symptoms? What do people experience? Does that vary from person to person again, or is there is there a general list of symptoms that occur when you start to be symptomatic for MS?
Well, it's numbness, tingling, weakness,
Unbalancedness.
fatigue, yeah, imbalance. Some people are affected in their eyes. They have optic neuritis, so their vision is disturbed. But it varies from person to person.
In your speech, you feel like you got a double tongue in your mouth. And
Short-term memory is a real big one.
Ooh.
We have we do some strange things because we can't remember. Short-term memory is definitely one that gets affected.
And so it's a good idea if you do have the MS after you're diagnosed with it, if your memory is not full, it's a good idea to write it down to remind yourself.
Okay. So yeah, that is a good idea. I mean, I write things down.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
I mean, in general, I think it's a good idea to write things down anyway. So what treatments are available? What kind of treatment are you undergoing to control your symptoms and to stay healthy, Robin?
Well, I started a drug therapy in '97 called Copaxone. They have drug therapies. Bob's on Avonex, which is a different therapy. And everybody, like MS, individually responds to it differently. Right now, they're all injectables. So we have to do shots.
Okay.
And those are currently what's best available. Sometimes they give steroids, but that's usually just for an acute attack.
All right.
And on you were saying the Copaxone that you're on, you have to do it every day.
Right.
And my injectable, it's a muscular too, it's a longer needle, and you do it once a week.
Oh.
And actually that there are, well, my therapy, they say that you may experience side effects, and one is like experiencing the common cold. Like you'll have a runny nose and stuff like that, or just, and for the drug to work into your body, 16 to 18 hours, you'll feel a little unusualness. But as far as like keeping you going for the day during the effects of the drug, you're relatively in good shape. You can do different, you can go about your business.
Okay, so you found the drugs effective in controlling your symptoms,
Yes.
so they've...
Because the therapy is supposed to prevent you from not experiencing another relapse.
Right. Right.
of going through a traumatic, like, wow, what's going on in my body?
And what alternative therapies are available? What do you suggest? What do you do to keep yourself, moving and as active as possible, Robin?
Well, I believe you do what you can do. So various stages of how you're feeling, you can do different things. But if you can walk, walk. If you can't walk, there's Tai Chi, there's yoga. I totally believe in massage therapy. Anything to keep your muscles kind of going and your blood circulating. And even how you eat is a big player in how you're going to feel.
So the yoga has been very helpful for you?
Yeah, when
Mentioned
I
yoga.
couldn't do what I was used to doing, and so between vertigo and just fatigue in my limbs, if you could lay on the floor and still do that's yoga, then you're still active.
And that's good because you can lay on the floor,
Yeah.
so that would be very helpful.
Yeah. So yoga's a good thing.
And Bob, what do you do to keep
Well,
yourself
I've
moving?
found out that where I am living in Stoneham now, that I have an opportunity at the complex. I walk around the confines of the apartment setting, and fortunately, I probably do about 4, if not 6 laps, and that's pretty good walk, and it keeps your body in shape. And the other thing that I also do is I have the fortunate thing of having an on-site gym, so I do the cardiovascular machine
That's great.
and the row machine. And by keeping up with that, as far as doing the exercising without going into a relapse, because you don't want to overdo it, and so just try to stay fit. And maybe one of the other things we want to discuss too is a person's diet.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, sure, discuss the diet. And
Yeah.
what do you recommend?
Well, because this is my passion, and I have a degree in nutrition.
Wonderful.
The biggest belief I have is that processed foods, which is about 75% of the supermarket, don't belong in our diet. And so when you're reading labels, which I think everybody should, the trans fatty acids and partially hydrogenated oils are unnatural products just made for shelf life. And if you can do whatever you can to limit those, if not have them at all, I think that you'd enjoy better health. And so, basically I'm not saying don't eat cookies, don't eat, it's just that if you look for that one product, and it's in margarines too, and just to have butter, like I said, it's like you can create your own diet per se, because so much will be eliminated, you realize what you should eat. So it's
Wow.
not a case that I would say, don't eat this and don't eat that. It would be that one specific ingredient that I would really tell people try not to have too much of.
And don't make it your staple food.
Yeah. But it's in everything. And it's even in some mints that you get off the shelf, believe it or not.
Oh.
It's just a way for things to be preserved so you can buy them 20 years after they were made, Unfortunately, it's good for the manufacturers, but I don't think it's so good for us.
No, I would imagine not.
Yeah.
And Bob, do you have a specific diet plan that you follow?
Yeah, I've actually, I've always eaten good, and it's just, Robin's shown me different ways to make an alternative and out to say, to try to eat better, try to do your exercise, and be careful, read what you're eating.
Yeah,
when
me
you
and
go
Bob did
shopping.
a supermarket.
Yeah.
We
and
did
it
a
was-
supermarket run, so I could show him.
Yeah, and it was like going through a classroom type experience.
Okay, did you just
and
go to a regular supermarket, or?
Yeah, and
Okay.
she took me through, and I'm shaking the back of my head, rubbing the back of my head, whatever you feel comfortable doing. It's like, my God, I says, we went through the produce section,